Okay, so here we are, week 10 in the chicken tractor on steroids. So we're giving you your weekly update. All right, week 10, and we're still producing compost and we're still producing meat. This week, we're going to focus on more or less the time it takes to do all this. Now, I've said in the very beginning that this stuff is labor intensive. So there is a bit of a trade-off. If you want to raise your meat birds and use store-bought food, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you want to raise meat birds that, let's say a Cornish cross, that are, that you just basically feed them, move them, and that's a day, for you. This system isn't for everybody. But the ones I think it might actually be most beneficial for are some of the people that I've had conversations with both online and in person regarding this system, because there seems to be at least a fair amount of concern of how much time it takes, how much effort it requires. So we're going to cover some of that today. So if you go back and watch previous episodes, you'll know that we have on the outside of the cage, we already have 3 cubic yards. Right here alongside me, we have 3 cubic yards, but it's inside the cage. Now, in the system that Jeff Lawton had designed, you would have 1 cubic yard, 1 cubic yard, 1 cubic yard. We've designed it a little bit differently to where it actually saves work, I think, doing it this way, and it seems to produce a compost that works out a little bit better. But for those of you out there that are, let's say, fording up with other families, or dare I say, people in the neighborhood that want to do this sort of thing, Sundays or the day you choose to flip all your piles it's going to be the day that you want to try to muster all your forces to try to do all this, because this is the one day of the week, whatever day you choose, is when you're going to flip all the piles, move the chickens, reassemble the compost cage, and start all over again. So every other day largely is something one person could easily do. In fact, even in this system, for those of you that are new to this, there was a time when we just had egg layers and we had 3 different chicken tractors on steroids, and a different kind of dual purpose bird in each. And I was testing out this system, seeing which one worked the best. And just so you know, I'll get rid of all the suspense. By far, the barred rocks they outperformed everybody else in every metric possible when it came to this system. So let me get back to it. When you have that one day of week where it requires a bunch of compost flipping, this is when, if you have a group of people to help you, this is when you want to bring it to bear. Because for me, by myself in the previous system, it took 45 minutes per tractor, and I was hustling, let me tell you. I mean, from start to finish, 45 minutes, moving them, doing the whole 9 yards, flipping all the piles. But the more and more piles you get, the more and more work you're going to make, unless you're using up your compost as you go along. Right now, we're not in that position. So you could say, to a certain extent, we are stockpiling the compost we're producing. We will start using it here in a little bit, but those are videos that are soon to unfold in the future. I don't mind doing the work. I really don't mind it. In fact, it might be one of the mechanisms I use to get rid of some of the chub I put on over the last couple of months. This is the one day of the week, if you decide to do this system, where you really want to muster all your forces. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and flip all this stuff, and we'll take careful measurement of time to see just how long it takes with 2 people.
So in this week 3 and 4 pile, which is combined 3 and 4, the temperature seemed a little bit low. It was at 100 degrees. So a way to kickstart that is we're gonna add this comfrey and this these coffee grounds, and it's gonna act as an activator and kind of raise the heat up again in this compost pile. And then the comfrey is also a dynamic accumulator, so it's going to be adding minerals and nutrients to the compost itself. Alright, so in this pile we noticed that the temperature was too hot. It was at like 160 degrees, which is too hot for this method. So unlike the other pile that was only at 100 degrees, this one's at 160. And the main difference is that we had this one covered up, and it was also being flipped every 2 days during the week. So to fix that, we're going to leave it uncovered for a while, and then we also dug a hole in the center to let some of the heat escape. So there's nothing wrong with this compost, it's just gonna take a little bit longer for it to be finished compost. Learning how to compost you're never gonna get it right on your first assembly, but you need to know what to do to it as you go along. And this is what you do to it if it gets too hot and goes anaerobic.
All right, there you have it. There's week 10. Now, as a little side note, if we wanted, I could actually process a few of these roosters in here at this point. But remember, within this chicken tractor on steroid system, it's not costing us one thin nickel after about the first month. So I can let them grow or pluck off which ones I think are troublemakers, because it's going to start getting that way here at this point. So at week 10, everything's still cool. But remember, we also have our dual purpose birds that we're going to add to the other flock over here. So at some point, probably during this week, we're going to pull those guys out. We're going to start getting them up to the barn. And then the integration method that we're going to use between them and the flock we currently have will almost certainly happen right there in the barn. We got one pile that needs remediation. The two big piles that are in there, they're going along exactly as they should. And like William said, I mean, you're going to have setbacks no matter what. So you just know how to remediate them, as we're doing here, and you drive on. Now, I can't overemphasize the fact that all the people out there that have been asking me, hey, you know, we got families that are fording up, or we got a neighborhood that's interested in trying this thing. Folks, I can't think of a better method of raising chickens, either for meat or for eggs, or it can be a combination of both. Maybe you want to do it all at the same time. But this is a labor-intensive process, and judging by the time I have, it's now taken somewhere in the neighborhood of right about an hour. All right, we're taking time. That hour really isn't an accurate measurement of this. If we weren't setting up shots and doing all that sort of thing, it would have probably taken about 30 minutes if we were getting after it. We were having conversations, we were doing this, we were doing that. If we were really getting after it, probably 30 minutes. Now, keep in mind, these piles are not 1 cubic yard. They're 3 cubic yards. Every time we set up that cage, it's about 1.5 cubic yards. So it's going to invariably take time to flip these piles. So this is where, if you do have others on hand, I can't think of a better method, especially if you have tons of food scraps or you have access to them. You can feed your meat birds, you can feed your layers. We've done it both ways, and we've done it. There was a period of time, as I said before, that there were 3 different chicken tractors on steroids with 30 birds apiece, and I was largely doing 100% of it by myself, and it was easy to do. And I'm a middle-aged man, so it can be done. So with that said, folks, remember, hit that subscribe button, hit the like, hit all the bells, the whistles, all those things to let you know we got a new video out. So until next time, this is Billy, the Permaculture Pimp Daddy, where PIMP stands for permaculture is my passion, because it really, really is. We'll see you next time.